Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the success strategist and the CEO of Global Innovation Strategies, bringing you week 24 of Spotlight on Success 2025. Today, we're talking about strategic foresight in an age of acceleration. And why does this matter to you? Because it is the new imperative. Strategic foresight exist because we are no longer in a world where strategic planning based on historical data is sufficient. Today's leaders need to look ahead far into the horizon, not only at what has happened, but what could happen. The difference between foresight and forecasting is that forecasting extrapolates only from the past. Foresight incorporates emerging signals, wildcards, and vastly disruptive shifts to model future possibilities. And so what do we need to be thinking of, or what tools in our toolkit do we need to have? Well, the first would be those tools that allow us to do more robust scenario planning. We need to explore multiple what-if futures and possibilities, because that's where we can remediate the greatest amount of risk. We need to look at what can go right, what can go wrong, and make sure that we're having a low, medium, and high, as well as multiple other scenarios. Two things that are going to help us with that scenario planning. That is trend radars. This helps you visually map the micro and the macro trends that are occurring and that you're seeing, and make sure that you're incorporating those into your scenario planning. The second is pestle analysis. We need to scan for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental influences, because that too is going to factor into our what if scenario planning. The next is business impact. We see that companies that integrate foresight, not only forecasting, into their planning are ultimately 33% more profitable and 200% more innovative. So we invite you to think about, over this course of this next week, what's one disruptive force you're currently not prepared or preparing for, and what should be on your radar going forward. The second area is called adaptive resilience, where we turn uncertainty into opportunity. And there's two types of resilience that we're going to be looking at. The first is operational resilience, which includes systems, backups, financial stability, and strategic resilience, which is our ability to pivot our business models, our products, our services, our other offerings, and message that without panicking. It's about pivoting because we are coming from a place of foresight versus forecasting, which will ultimately cause us to be behind the risk curve overall. And so we want to be thinking about not only bouncing back, right? Bouncing back is a reactive occurrence because we forecasted without necessarily foresight. And so we need to think more about bouncing forward. Resilient leaders don't aim to return, right? Bounce back means you're returning to your once status quo. But bouncing forward means you're emerging, you and your organization and your teams and your portfolios are emerging transformed, stronger, and more strategically aligned, not only with your own goals, but with the global outcomes and results and where the trends are going. So the old adage, skate to where the puck is going, not where it's already been. Examples to reference, Zoom's rapid infrastructure scale up in 2020. COVID hit. They were able to scale up and support the globes rapid move to virtual infrastructure at a pace and rate and scale hereunto unknown. And we also see small businesses pivoting more and more and more to e-commerce, even if they have a brick and mortar place or places, or they're moving to community-based delivery. Think pop-ups, right? If we want to reach our audience or target market or audiences, etc., they're not going to be in one place more than likely, right? We look upstream, we look downstream, and we want to have a point of presence in many different places so that we could potentially capture them. So e-commerce or community-based delivery. What practices do we need to put into place to build higher levels or greater levels of resilience? We can use flexible work models. We can diversify our revenue streams. We can put into place agile decision-making frameworks like quarterly OKRs instead of very rigid annual plans. Again, flexible, agile, pivotable. That's where we want to be moving to. And so we invite a discussion among you and your team. What processes, products, or services in your business could be reimagined? And what would the priority of those be if disruption hit your organization tomorrow? Next, we move to conscious business models, because we want to be both triad of profitable, principled, and future ready. So what makes a business conscious? 3 major points, and that's A, that it balances people, planet, and profit, right? We want to make sure we are using all of our capacities, head and heart and hands, as we're bringing our products and services and our new innovative business models to the market. So balances people, planet, and profit. Everybody gets a win. Leads with transparency, empathy, and social impact. And lastly, it creates value, not just for shareholders, but for all the stakeholders involved across the life cycle. So of especially current relevance is that Gen Z and millennial consumers are 4 to 5 times more likely to purchase from purpose-driven companies. So we saw this, right? In over the last couple decades, from a business having a mission and a vision to a mission having an attached suite of businesses focused on it. So definitely standing that old model on its head. So what are the key elements of this? It's ethical sourcing, inclusive hiring, values-driven marketing, and very transparent governance. The framework we use is called conscious capitalism. And we can make it in the form of one of our McKinsey or Deloitte type of quads, right? On our x-axis would be efficiency, and on the other side would be empathy. On our y-axis could be profit, and on the other portion of the continuum would be purpose, right? So we want to ask you, where does your organization sit right now along this conscious capitalism mapping? And then where do you want to move to? So we invite you and your team and your stakeholders to reflect on one question. What is one thing you could do this quarter together to increase both impact and integrity in your businesses? The next area is called strategic alignment, and we're going to talk about this through the lens of a scorecard. First, we need to understand, why does alignment even matter? Because when our mission, our market, and our methods are not aligned, there is a great amount of waste along the spectrums of time, money, and energy. And most of all, misalignment equals greater amounts of resistance, not only internally, but externally to our customers and clients that we're attempting to serve in some manner. So you could think about this on a 4-point model, and you want to potentially score yourself in each of these 4 areas to see where you're at now and where you want to be moving to. The first one is customer alignment. So on a scale of 1 to 5, are you meeting the emerging needs of your ideal client? Remember, demographics, geographics, our new AI, technographics all play a big part into this. The next part we want you to scale is revenue model agility. To what extent can your business scale up and down based on market shifts? Next, innovation readiness on a scale of 1 to 5. Are new ideas welcomed? And just as importantly, are they acted upon within your organization? And then last but not least would be trend awareness. How often are you looking outside your bubble regularly to understand parallel innovations and lift and shift accordingly? So as a practical activity, we want each of you to score yourselves and identify your lowest scoring category as a potential growth opportunity. And if you have a high scoring category, is that something you can double or triple down on to create the greater results and outcomes that you're shooting for? So let's have a reflection here. And again, that's that practical activity. If there's one area, if you and your organization improved it by just 10%, what would that create with regard to a strategic shift for you? Is there one of those levers that you could pull that would get you the biggest strategic shift? And can you put some resources and funding behind that? Last but not least would be the legacy strategy map, your 3-year vision canvas. Why 3 years? Because it's long enough to allow for an organization transformation at a very deep level, but it's also short enough to potentially stay relevant. Again, potentially, depending on what market you are serving and to what extent you have a high dependency on the technological innovations occurring at this stage. Now we want to map some map components, right? How can you do this if you've never done one before? Well, the first element would be to create a vision headline. 3 years from now, my business will be best known for X. If you don't already have that in your mission and your vision and your strategic goals, etc., or maybe you're shifting, right? You are doing the trend analysis and you realize that you have to shift right, shift left, shift middle, create a more balanced portfolio, triple down on something where you were maybe under investing in. Again, 3 years from now, my business will be best known for X. What is you're solving for X? Customer transformation. What will your clients and customers be able to achieve because of your products and services? This is a phenomenally powerful inquiry for your organization and your teams. What will your customers and clients be able to achieve at a greater level for their outcomes and results because of your organization's products and or services. In the area of innovation and capability growth, what new tools, offerings, or technologies does your organization need to master? And not only that, how are you going to capitalize on that going forward? And then last but not least, what do you want to be remembered for by your clients, your customers, the community, your collaborators? Maybe it's the globe writ large, but again, impact and legacy. What is it that you and your organization want to be remembered for? Those are the 4 elements of our 3-year vision canvas that we are going to put out there so that we can reverse engineer the massive amount of success that each of one of you are going to be having. So we invite you to journal. We invite you to undertake this as an organizational or team effort, especially at the executive level and or the board level, so that you can leapfrog forward. Last but not least, this challenge. If a Forbes article were written about you and your business in 2028, what would the headline say? What would the story highlight? I can't wait to hear all about where you all are headed going forward. Again, this is Dr. Rhonda Farrell, the success strategist, the CEO of Global Innovation Strategies. You can reach me at CEO@GBLINNOVStratLLC.com so we can help you harness your strategic foresight in the age of acceleration.